according to the internet, you're worth anywhere between $8.5 and $43.5 million.
Okay.
Is that accurate? It's a pretty big range.
Depending on what side of the range you're on, yeah, it's accurate.
Okay. Have you ever considered just retiring? Say, okay, look, I got enough money. I don't need the stress that comes with all this.
I thought about it a bunch of times, but something inside of me just feels restless, irritable, and discontented, and I'm forced to either create problems in my life or channel that energy into something productive. I've tried to sit idle, but idle hands do the devil's work. And I got to be real careful to sit stagnant for too long and just fall into a pit of darkness.
No, I feel you. I mean, I could technically retire right now. Like, this could be my last interview ever. But then it's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah. You could actually just sell the watch on your wrist, move to like Montana, and still live the rest of your life retired.
This is
just
true.
for one watch.
And if I go to like a third world country like Thailand, forget it.
Generational wealth.
Generational wealth. Exactly.
Yeah.
I could buy a mansion.
Yeah.
You know, have 15 wives and live off the rest of my day off just this watch. But what am I going to do? I think I would go into a depressive state.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I like to live a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
And my lifestyle is consumed with more of whatever it is. I just want more. If it makes me feel good, I bet 2 would make me feel better, you know? So eventually, I'd run out of money, I guess. At that trajectory, I could have $10 billion. I'll probably still run out of money.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I say retire, I would have to scale down my lifestyle a little bit.
And I'm unwilling to do that personally. I don't want to scale down. I want to keep getting bigger.
So I keep working.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and that's cool. I'm fine with that. And at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, you drive down the road, you see construction workers, you know, in 90-degree weather who are busting their ass to bring home $50,000, $60,000 a year. Mm-hmm. I go in and talk to somebody that I find interesting, and that's the one thing I do that day. Who am I to complain that I'm working too hard and I'm not retiring yet? You see what I'm saying? It's just like...
You can even get a simpler job if you wanted to just pay for upkeep while you keep the rest of your money and retire and live on that. You know, like there's so many like ways to... But we are the type of person... Listen, you call this a podcast, right? This is what you title it?
Yeah, you can call it that, yeah.
How many people around the world have tried to start a podcast?
Millions.
Millions.
Yeah.
I can only name like 50, right? And you're one of the big ones. So you're obviously a different type of person than the other millions of people around the world. You were able to be successful. It's because you're better, right? One thing that makes you better is that you have this drive and you keep going.
I started early. I put out more content than everyone else. I was more aggressive in the way I do interviews. I pushed the envelope.
You were better than that.
I don't worry about, you know, social media or criticism. And yeah, over time, it does work out. Doesn't mean that I'm smarter or whatever else, but at the end of the day, if you work hard, you're focused on what you do, you know, you have a chance of it working out. There's some luck thrown in there too, and you can't say that's not part of it.
I think luck is when preparation meets timing.
Exactly.
It's so weird because the harder I worked, it seemed like the luckier I got.
But you don't actually invest your money.
I do. All my money's invested.
Back into other gambling operations.
Real estate.
Real estate.
I have an enormous real estate portfolio. Oh, yeah.
How many properties do you own?
I don't even know. So I'm not...
You don't even know how many properties you own?
Well, I'm not a real estate
expert. How
expert.
many properties do you think you own?
No clue.
No clue?
No clue. So I worked with some guys that I trust who do real estate. And I go, I don't know a thing about real estate. Please stop asking me about real estate. Sometimes they'll call me like, what's your opinion? We want this one over this one. I go, what are you asking me for? I go, you're the real estate experts. So they have a piece to manage it. We all put money in together. I give an extra small piece for the management so they don't have to ask me questions. So I know it's in a safe place.
Are these multi-unit properties?
It's everything. I know for sure it's everything. We have apartment buildings, we have office buildings, we have warehouses, single-family homes. It's everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I own my house outright.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've always felt that mortgages is like the coldest hustle ever, you know, that's geared towards the banks. So, you know, I have real estate as well, but, you know, and I have people I know like Grant Cardone who are billionaires through real estate. Mm-hmm. I've done it through stocks. I'm definitely not a billionaire, but everyone's got their own tolerance for that type of thing. But that's the thing. I've always felt like the difference between being poor and rich, and I feel like there's really no such thing as a middle class. People like to say there is, but there really isn't. And the difference is that it doesn't really matter what your salary is or how much you bring in every year. People who become rich are able to take a portion of their salary, invest it, and have that money continuously make more money.
Right.
People who are poor, they can be making $200,000-$300,000 a year, but if they spend all that throughout the year and they have no way for their money to make more money, they will continuously be on this hamster wheel. And at one point, when their income starts to drop off, they're going to be in a bad place.
You know, my dad gave me a really good piece of advice when I was young. He said, any idiot can make money. The hard part is holding on to it.
Yes. Well, yeah, holding on to it and then growing it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Warren Buffett changed my whole life because I remember I had lost everything, in my 20s. I, made bad investments. I spent money before I actually earned it and so forth, and I went broke. I was homeless at one point, and I said that if I ever do this again, and really the pain of losing everything is something that you'll hold on to that forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, when I make it back, I'm not going to act like it's going to come forever, and I'm also going to learn how to properly invest. So I spent a certain amount of time reading about how investment works and so forth, and that was by far the best time I ever spent, in terms of profit, learning how to take the money I make from Vlad TV, investing it, and churning that into more money. And then once you understand how compound interest works over time, and now, I'm about 15 years into my investing, by far the best thing I've ever done with my money. Because if you just leave your money in cash, inflation will slowly chip away at it. You have 100,000, that next year it's only really 97,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that next year it's really down to 93,000. Now it's still that same 100,000, but it buys a lot less year after year as things become more expensive. And then also, once you figure out a way where your money can make more money, you want to spend on extravagant purchases less, because you understand that, yes, this is a nice, it's a nice Gucci jacket, but after you buy it, it's worth pennies on the dollar. Whereas you could take that money, invest it, that $5,000 in a couple of years might be $10,000.
Mm-hmm. Spend the dividends if you want.
Exactly.
Because you always have the asset.
You'll always have the asset. Exactly.
My biggest thing was I needed a way to protect me from myself. So when I had the most amount of money that I had at that point in my life, I knew that there was a bug inside of me that would have flipped a coin for all that money if somebody matched me.
Yeah.
And I really needed a way to save me from me. So I helped create this fund, and I said, guys, get this money out of my hands, put it somewhere safe. I know you will. And we all just put the money in, and that's what it is.
No, smart, man. I remember I had a girlfriend who was Indonesian, and gambling is really big in Asian countries like that.
Sure.
And she would tell me about how she knew people, because she came like her family was like a top 1% family. Mm-hmm. They were like extremely wealthy. And she would tell me how not only gambling was really big in that culture, but also like superstition and religion and so forth. So people would based on the way the stars are and the way the weather is and based on the zodiac, they would say, okay, on this particular day, I'm at the absolute luckiest. The number 7 is considered lucky in Asian cultures. I know for sure I'm going to be lucky on this day. So they go in the casino and they bet their life savings, they lose it all.
Yep.
And you see this type of thing all the time.
Yep.
And man, that's scary. You're right. A coin flip, you could lose everything.
Yeah, and I knew that I was susceptible to doing that, given the right context. So I needed someone to save me. And we created the real estate fund.
There you go.
It's slow, it's boring, it's not sexy, but it's so safe.
Investing is boring.
Yeah.
Honestly, there are years where I literally don't touch my stock market. I don't buy or sell anything. I've had years like this. Warren Buffett said most of his money has been sitting on his butt. Literally. He bought, I think, $100 million worth of Coca-Cola in the 80s, and he's never sold a share. And now, I think he makes about $100 million a year just in dividends.
Yeah, incredible.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, incredible.
From doing nothing. And when I look at, I've done well, but in retrospect, if I had just not sold a lot of my stocks, if I had just left them alone and just kept everything I ever bought, I think I would have actually done better than I've done now. It's the constant, no, I got to do that. I got to sell this and buy this. Okay, this is the hot new thing. I got to do this. And usually in the process, and then also when you sell, you have to pay taxes on it. on your on your profits, and and if it's a short term, it's a lot of taxes and so forth. So yeah, man, people that are constantly trading and jumping in and out and so forth, usually they lose over time. It's you have to have the same type of mentality in investing that you do in gambling. You have to look at it as a business as opposed to an emotional situation. Well, anyways, Mikki Mase, man, appreciate you coming in. I've interviewed, Adam is a gambler, but I've never actually interviewed someone where their entire life was gambling from beginning to end, and how they've actually been successful at it, worked out a method, and actually worked out a whole business around it. And gambling is tough, man. I remember one of my really close friends in high school started to gamble, right? We went to different schools. He got so obsessed with it that he started to pay people in the school to take tests for him. He gets caught, he gets expelled. So then he just goes all in. And he starts actually, I remember we talked about this, he started actually consulting with other sports gamblers. His thing was sports always. So he would basically work with other sports gamblers and take a fee for helping them bet. And, they would lose and he would call them back with different accents to, whatever else. Got fully into it. Started taking drugs, started dabbling with cocaine. They found him dead at 23 in a Las Vegas hotel room. And I remember being at that funeral and saying, I'm never going to touch cocaine. If this is what happens with cocaine, I'm never going to touch it. I'm 51 right now. I've never touched cocaine. I've had it offered to me multiple times over the years. I've always turned it down. But this is how. What's that?
I'm just kidding. I called you a nerd. I was just kidding.
That's cool. I'll be a nerd.
I was just kidding.
I'll be a nerd. I'll be the no cocaine taking nerd.
I was just kidding, bro.
That's cool. I mean, I smoke weed all the time. I've tried ecstasy. I've done mushrooms.
Sober. I'm with you.
No, it's all good, man. Listen, I had a couple randoms in Atlanta offer me some cocaine. I'm like, y'all are crazy right now with fentanyl. I've had 5 people I've interviewed die from fentanyl.
Yeah.
5 people.
Yeah.
But this is, between the gambling and the drugs, I had a close friend that I grew up with. It killed him at age 23.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had a lot of people that you've come in contact with that had very similar stories.
100%.
You yourself could have been one of those stories.
Yeah, 100%.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So congratulations for the success that you've reached, for getting sober, for turning it into a real business. And, wish you all the best.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
That's what it is. Till next time.
Thank you.
Peace.